Specifically, we're talking about courses like Ironman Tulsa. If you've not been down to Tulsa, Oklahoma, it gets windy. So you need to be prepared out on courses like this, especially if you're in the open. Ironman Florida typically isn't too windy, but you're out in the open. So if the wind kicks up, you're going to have to tackle that wind. And I just want to throw out a few tips that you can think about, and we can dive into it a little bit more about how to handle the wind, handle yourself, so you don't kill yourself in the first 20 miles of the bike ride. Swimming, you want to use the wind with you where you can and manipulate the wind where you can to get the most speed you can without burning the most energy. So to break that down, we're going to go over these topics. So biking in the wind. Wind resistance is a main factor in the bike speed, especially 20 miles per hour. Once you get to 20 miles per hour, the main thing you're doing is overcoming wind resistance. You're moving so fast, usually you're going faster than wind. So you need to be able to maximize things that you have at your disposal, even if it's not, or you're really going down to things like aero wheels, bike helmets, we'll talk about later, time trial bike, the design of the bike, just different things that can be done to overcome just basic wind resistance on the bike. Flat course, all being the same, no hills or anything like that, you're battling just the wind. Obviously, when there's hills involved, you've got a little bit more, you're working against gravity. But typically, when you're out there, you're just fighting wind resistance on the bike and you're adding power to it. Typically, what I tell people, and this isn't to say you need to go out and get the best, baddest triathlon bike out there or spend more money and get a better bike. A great athlete can take a Schwinn from Walmart and go out there and do great at a race. It's more about the engine and the gear you're on. But at a certain point, the gear does help out. And if you've got the disposable income, you might as well focus on things that can get you the best bang for your buck. But looking at your bike, a road bike is okay. Usually, on the higher end, they're more designed, the frame's a little bit more aggressive, resistance as much as possible. Profile of the bike is cut down, the weight of the bike is cut down, the components are a little bit more mechanically more efficient, a little bit lighter. So obviously with any of these, the more you pay, the more you're trying to get speed out of it. But at a certain point, it becomes a little incremental. Maybe you're getting 0.01%, 0.5%, something like that. Is it worth $500 to get 0.5% of reduction of wind resistance on your bike, weight or something like that? So you got to take that into consideration. Road bike with clip-on aero bars. So if you buy the shifting, your brakes on the outside, but then you're in an aero position, but then you've got nothing. You got no shifting and no brakes up here. But it does put you in a little bit better position to be in the aero, tightens your shoulders up a little bit and gets you a little bit more tucked in. So there's opportunity. And personally, as I was going through the sport, as I got in from off-road mountain biking onto on-road duathlons, start off with a road bike and then eventually put on the aero bars, felt more comfortable with that, and finally moved on to a triathlon TT specific bike. Geometry is drastically different, puts you in a different position altogether. So you're on the drops, you're in a forward position. It's always kind of pushing you forward, depending on your fit and everything like that. That's kind of a topic for later. But typically with a triathlon bike, you're getting the most efficient frame geometry set up to be out there to be able to tackle the wind and get the most out of your energy that you put out there to overcome the wind resistance. The basic gear that can help you the most is everybody wants to do race wheels because they look cool and everything, but you just got to prioritize what's most important versus have limitless income. I wish I did. My money tree right now is wilting because of the fall weather, just in time for Christmas. But that being said, you got to prioritize, and eBay's a wonderful place. Facebook One Ads are a wonderful place. Always be coming over those. Set up your alerts to make sure you get alerts on anything that goes on sale, anything anybody posts. And you got to be quick. When something goes on sale, if it's something you want, you got to buy it and you got to be on top of it because it goes quick, especially online, especially if it's good quality gear. So gear, aero helmet, that's the best. Members, you get a discount at Rudy Project, so make sure you hit the website, go to the members area. Partners. I personally like the Wing 57. They just came out with a new one. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It looks pretty sweet, pretty cool. Right now, that's out of my personal price range, but If you got the discount code, you can go on there and actually get a reduced price than anybody just looking online without the discount code. And I've used Giro, I've used Specialized, I've used other different brands. Personally, I like the Wing 57. It fits my head style the best. It's a very comfortable helmet. I've got no problems with it. Wheels, tried 404s for zip. I've tried Planet X wheels. I've tried 1080 in the back, 808 on the front. So right now I do 808 front and back. And typically I have no problems with that. If side wind comes along, it's a little bit of an issue. But I found them used on, I think, Slow Twitch One Ads or something like that. You know, I spent my time coming through, finding like the best price. I wanted clinchers to be able to change the tires if I needed to. So make sure you know kind of what you want, and don't cycle through different wheels, because you end up, you know, it's just like cars. The value goes down over time, and you're never going to get money back that you originally spent. So do a little bit of research if you're going to go for wheels, because they are pretty expensive. And you want a quality set of wheels. You want to make sure that the other one is Trysuits. Personally, I go with Zoot. I'm on Team Zoot. I have a discount with them. I love their Trysuits. Trysuits have come a long way. They used to just be kind of a spandex suit with no waist or anything, and just kind of floating around in there, feel kind of awkward and weird. Now it feels like just, I don't want to say a second skin, but it feels a part of you. The fabrics are great. They block the sun. They cool you. They keep you warm when they need to. Even the black tri-suit, I really don't have problems with heat or anything like that. But a proper tri-suit will kind of suck in your circumference a little bit. So that helps you be a little bit better tri-suit. It kind of sucks in everything, especially ones that, you know, don't have flappy pockets. And if you got a bike jersey, it's not flapping in the wind or anything like that. So tri-suits are a way to go. There's also things you can do with shoes, even the types of clip-in bike pedals you got. Some are a little bit more aerodynamic than others. So again, it's just kind of, well, depends on how much money you want to spend, but you can make adjustments with gear. You know, even sunglasses probably have a rating for aerodynamic, you know, wind tunnel. I'm sure. Another tip for overcoming the wind and biking the wind is the ability to stay in the aero over time. So if you're going with clip-on bars, you're going with the tri-bike, you want to get the most out of it. You don't want to be one of the people at the end with 20 miles to go on a full Ironman and you're out on the drops just because you're fatigued and you just can't hold that position anymore. Make sure you have a right fit first. Make sure you got a strong core second, and make sure you've done enough long rides that you can hold that aero position over time. That is going to keep on the bars. You got all the surface area just blocking wind as you're going down the road, especially if it's windy. Forget about it. You're basically a big old sail, and especially someone like me who has wide shoulders. You know, being like this is better than being like this, because you're just going to block all the wind like a big sail going down the road. It's almost anti energy saving. You're almost doing more of a workout. It's like the guys running around with parachutes on their back in the backyard, you know, doing strength training while running up and down. You got this big old parachute at the end. So that's what you kind of envision if you're up on the drops or you're not using those aero clip-on bars. You're basically one big sail, just holding the wind and depleting your energy. So make sure, and that's, you know, it's getting your core in, it's getting your back in good posture, it's getting a good fit on your bike, so it's comfortable staying that long periods of time. It's doing your long ride, staying in aero as much as possible. If you're doing your long rides in indoor, you need to make sure that you're not just sitting there spinning on your bike, you know, spacing out, looking, watching Netflix, or on the drops. You need to be in the aero position. And personally, what helps me is to do kind of an on-off. So start out maybe 5 minutes on the drops, 5 minutes in aero, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and then start going to 10. And then for the longer rides, 15, 20. Make sure you're doing, if you're doing your speed work and that type of thing, make sure you're in aero, because you're going to be in aero position when you're doing races. So if you're doing your speed and your strength work on the drops, yeah, you're going to get some strength work, but you're not going to get your body used to putting that kind of effort out when you're in the aero position. So there's no point in having a tri-bike if you can't hold the aero position over time. On the shorter races, it may not be as big of a deal, but once you get into a 70.3 or 140.6, it's going to make a significant difference if you can hold. You want to be consistent with the power on the pedals. So you don't want to spike. You don't want to be pedaling along, and when the wind picks up, then you're just kind of freewheeling a little bit and spinning faster. And then when you've got the wind in your back, then you're putting a little less power on the. You want to make sure you're consistent over time. You're making sure you're doing a smooth, steady flow, and you're not fighting. You're not having your power go up and down over time. You're putting a consistent, especially if you're on a flat road and you got a headwind. You want to get down in position, find a nice spin rate, 80 RPMs or a little bit more speed. It could be the difference between 14 and 15 miles per hour, adding a little bit, maybe you go down to 70 RPM and you downshift a little bit. It's a little bit harder, but you're getting a little bit more speed for the work you're doing. And it's not that much work. Whereas if you've got a tailwind and you want to go from 22 to 23, you're going to put a lot more effort and get on those pedals, spin it faster, spending more energy to go faster. It's kind of counterintuitive as you're going along, riding outside with a tailwind. You can, but the speed that you get out of the work you have to put in to get faster, because as you go faster, you're overcoming that wind resistance. Then it becomes a kind of losing proposition. You're spending more energy to get faster, where you could have spent that energy maybe in the headwind and being a little bit more consistent with a little bit higher power than usual. If your goal is 150 watts and you put 165 in a headwind, it's consistent over 20 miles, you're going to get a lot more out of that than putting in 250 watts. Well, be smart and where you're putting your power and where you're putting the effort in. Make sure you can handle your bike in the wind. So if you're kind of a nervous Nelly and you're out there in a crosswind, especially if you have deep dish aero wheels, and it's going everywhere, make sure that you're comfortable handling your bike, even in a headwind. You can kind of play with the wheels a little bit, especially if you have deeper wheels. You've got maybe a 404, just a stock wheels, probably not as bad, but even an aero, no matter what your wheels are, if you're catching wind with your body and it's pushing you around a little bit, that can be a little unnerving. So make sure that you're comfortable. If you do the bulk and majority of your training indoors, it's a windy day, it's just an easy zone 2 ride. Go out there for 45 minutes and just ride around and just do it for the sake of handling your bike. Make sure you're comfortable with that. So, and like I said, the last point is kind of manage your energy. It kind of goes with consistent power. So over a race, like 70.3 and 140.6, you kind of have a target range you want to be in for your bike power, heart rate, whatever you're going by. It's kind of like 75% effort. So you don't want to be max out, but you don't want to go super easy. You want to find that nice middle ground, sections where it has a few hills. There may be sections where you got a headwind, and there's a section where you got tailwinds and you got downhill. So all that needs to factor together. You don't want to just the whole time, I got to stick to 150 watts no matter what. So you're going up the hill and you're cramming it and killing your legs. And on the downhill, you're trying to spin your legs fast enough because gravity is carrying you down. You have to put in more work to get higher power, but you're not getting faster, if that makes sense. Try it sometime and see what you get. So you got to be consistent on going it well, just like you would managing the wind. You got to find that sweet spot and you got to be consistent. You got to be able to hold that position and manage your energy throughout the entire race and not just say, I got to peg it at this wattage the entire time, no matter what, and I'm going to change my gearing and change my RPMs to make sure it matches. Make sure you got a good energy management plan and make sure you stick to it. So right now, these are the tips that I could come up with biking in the wind and making sure, like I said, especially for races like Ironman Tulsa, if you've been down to Oklahoma, there's a lot of just open country out there. So you're going to be dealing with the wind, especially winter, summer. I've lived down there a few different times in different seasons. There is wind basically all the time. So you're going to have to work with this. It could be 15, 20 mile per hour winds. It could be 34 mile, 40 mile per hour gusts. Comes in the handling part. Just make sure you're comfortable riding your bike out there in the wind. But there's different things you could do, you could think about while you're doing your training to overcome that. Don't be surprised on race day